What's going on, everybody? Sooners Illustrated game preview time, week 4. Josh Callaway, James E. Jackson, Tom Green. We got a big in here, folks. Number 15, Oklahoma. Number 6, Tennessee. Saturday night, the biggest game in college football. The SEC opener. Josh Heupel's back. The storylines galore in this game, guys. This is one of the games that it kind of a cliche of like why you play, why you coach, why we cover the sport, why you're a fan. Games like this. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be an absolutely, obviously, jam-packed, insane crowd. This is everything you could want. Obviously, the biggest test by leaps and bounds Oklahoma's had this year. But guys, this game is just going to be awesome. This is college football at its best right here. This is going to be an awesome game on Saturday. I can't wait.
Yeah, I mean, this week has felt like excruciatingly long somehow.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how it's only Thursday right now, or Friday when this video goes up.
People are watching Friday.
Yes, people will be watching this on Friday, but it's been a long week. But you can just kind of, the excitement's palpable. Like even when Brent Venables came in for his press conference on Tuesday, there was just something like a little bit of a different energy. He was almost like chipper.
Mm-hmm.
It was just kind of really exciting because like you're excited because look, let's not sugarcoat it. They did not spend 9 months of the offseason game planning for Temple and Houston and Tulane. They game planned for them, of course. Like they did their preparations, but they've been studying Tennessee. They've been studying these SEC teams since January.
Yep.
Since they got done with the bowl game, they turned the page to those SEC teams. And now we get to see the fruits of those labors and see how Oklahoma stacks up against these teams. And what more could you ask for from an SEC debut for this program?
I know.
You got a top 16 coming to town. You got game day coming in. Josh Heupel's return, as we mentioned, obviously going to be a big deal. It's been one of the biggest storylines all week. I think everybody and their mother has written a story about it. And then obviously the battle between two former 5-star quarterbacks in the 2023 class in Nico Iamaleava and Jackson Arnold. And then
he got it. Nice.
Yeah,
I've been practicing all week.
I've been practicing.
Practicing all week.
And then Tennessee's high-powered number 1 scoring offense against this vaunted, resurgent Oklahoma defense. I mean, this is why, like you said, this is why we cover the sport.
Yeah, I mean, it's just been excitement all around. Obviously, I think we just saw that OU's going to have like those little shakers too in the stadium, so the fans can have those, add more of an SEC type of vibe. I mean, that's SEC right there.
Can't have kettlebells, but you can get shakers.
Yeah, I mean, it's so much excitement as we talked about this game. It's a big time game. I mean, usually it took until OU played Texas before you got something like this, and they get it early now. I mean, it's the first SEC game, as you guys talked about, is what they've been gearing up for. I mean, so this is a very big game. There's a lot of excitement because OU is getting some guys back. I mean, that should add some stuff to this as well. I mean, it's just going to be a really fun environment, I think, overall. And you got to hope for a close game. If you're an OU fan, I guess you hope for just a win. But most of college football is hoping for a close, very good football game just for the fun of it.
Sure. Biggest home game for OU in, I would say, at least 8 years. Ohio State in 2016. You could argue into further than that. And it's going to be awesome. We can't wait.
That was 8 years ago. Wow.
8 years.
Wow.
And, just don't get games like that in Norman very often. Because like you said, James, really the only big game every year is Texas. And that's at the Cotton Bowl, which is the best. Not suggesting anything for moving it. But you just don't get games in Norman like this very often. And so now it will happen all the time. There's another one later this year with Alabama. But it's going to be awesome. You mentioned getting guys back. Quick injury report. So we actually have the availability reports now. It came out, the first one on Wednesday night. Nick Anderson, probable. Sounds good. Troy Everett, probable. That one was a little bit of a surprise. So sounding good there. Angelo Anthony as well, along with Kendall Dolby, right? Branson Hickman, Jake Taylor, both questionable. That's supposed to be 50-50-ish. So we'll see where those guys are. But it sounds good for Nick Anderson to make his season debut and for Troy Everett to potentially make his season debut. And what a huge lift that would be, especially if Branson Hickman's out, to have somebody who can play center for you. And we mentioned a bunch of times, Hatchett, Hickman, Everett are your top 3 centers. Those guys have all been out. So they've had to go with Josh Bates, who's done good things at times, but it's also been rough at times. So potentially a huge lift there as well. So on the injury front, things are getting better. Oklahoma's getting healthier. We'll see what difference it makes on Saturday. So,
did you mention Kendall Dolby? That's probable too.
I think I did.
Yeah.
He's back. If I didn't, he's back.
Getting him back is big.
Yeah, big deal. It's your starting cheetah who was off to a great start to his season. And Angelo Anthony too. It's like we saw him. He didn't really look right. Is he closer to himself after these weeks off? That's huge too. So there's a lot. There's a lot of big things for Oklahoma on the health front that are trending positively. We'll see how it looks on Saturday. All that said, let's go into our keys to the game for this one. Tom, you get to start for keys. Where are you going? What does Oklahoma got to do? Obviously, Oklahoma is an extremely rare home underdog in this game. Does not happen very often. You can count on one hand. I joked with Colin on the pod on Thursday. I mean, in our lifetimes, you count on one hand how many times they've been a home underdog. They're about a full touchdown underdog here. What's the key for Oklahoma to pull the upset?
Yeah, I think for me, it starts on defense. Brent Venables talked about it this week. This Tennessee offense, which, is averaging close to 64 points a game, just steamrolling everybody. Look, they haven't exactly played a murderer's row of teams, but they've steamrolled them. They run fast tempo in the first half of their blowouts against Chattanooga and Kent State in weeks 1 and 3. I think they were averaging like 17 seconds between plays, which is fast. I mean, on the year, they're at like 26, 27 seconds, which is like 45th nationally, I believe. But they go fast. It's a high-powered offense. Their quarterback, Nico Iamaleava, is playing really well. It's going to be the biggest challenge that Brent Venables' defense has faced since he came back to Oklahoma as head coach. So for me, it starts there, and really it's about making Nico Iamaleava uncomfortable. This is a guy, redshirt freshman, he, like Jackson Arnold, has 4 career starts under his belt. He has not started a game on the road. This is going to be his first time on the road in a packed house, in a raucous atmosphere that, is probably going to be the best environment that stadium has seen in several years. They need to do whatever they can to rattle him. They need to, try to make Tennessee one-dimensional. If Oklahoma's run defense can be as good as it has been to start the year, and they can, make Nico Iamaleava beat you, and maybe force him into mistakes, you have to get pressure on him. And look, Oklahoma's been really good at both those things so far. Our Mason Thomas and Grayson Alden have gotten off to a really good start. Oklahoma has 11 sacks, which is tied for 6th nationally. They forced 10 turnovers, which is tied for the most in the country. This is a defense that is bound to make plays and be opportunistic. And in turn, if they can do that, they can give the offense some short fields to work with too. So it's, we talk about complementary football, but for me, it begins on the defensive side and just trying to rattle this quarterback who, it's easier said than done. Like, he's making his first start on the road in the SEC, but he's been making some really good decisions early this season and has looked really good, and that offense is clearly firing on all cylinders right now.
Listen, I think it's going to be the run game on both sides of the ball for OU and for Tennessee. Now, look, I talked about Nico in the post game. I know everybody's talking about Nico as the guy. I went back and watched the NC State and the Kent State game fully of, the Tennessee. I watched the whole game and try to get a better grasp of what they do. I mean, this guy, Dylan Sampson, their running back, that's the engine of their offense. That's really what it is. Now, if you can slow him down, that stops their tempo because they can't just hand it off, going down the middle, things like that, hand it off and get to their quick passes and things like that. Being able to stop him, which Oklahoma's defensive line is a strength on this team, that could be the difference. So I think that's the key to the game. Can that defense stop Dylan Sampson? If you can do that, put all the pressure on Nico. Now you're talking about a freshman quarterback in a different environment with the game on his back, in his arm pretty much, and how he can handle that moment. And so that's where I think it is. If they can stop the run, they'll be good. And on the other side, it's the same for me. Like we saw against Tulane, if Jackson Arnold can run the ball and be a great dual threat quarterback like he was against Tulane, that opens up a lot of things for his OU offense, especially because they're getting Nick Anderson back. I mean, he's probably, but you expect he's getting Nick Anderson back, the downfield threat receiver for you to actually throw down the field. So that opens up Deion Burks in the shorter routes and tight ends in the shorter routes. So I think the run game is going to be the biggest point in all of this. So that's where I'm at with the keys to the game.
Agree completely with everything both you guys said. Tennessee, again, Nico Iamaleava, is obviously sensational, and he's a Heisman favorite right now. But like James said, this is a Tennessee team that's got a top 5 rushing offense.
Yeah,
they're running for over 300 yards per game.
It's crazy.
It's crazy what they've done on the ground so far. So I agree completely. To kind of meld what both you guys said, the biggest key for me, and it's kind of a basic key, admittedly, but you got to win the turnover battle. Got to. Oklahoma's been really good at that so far this season. But like the Jackson Arnold pick 6 last week, can't have that. Cannot have that. Tennessee's too good. The margin of error is too small. And this is going to be Nico's first road start. As good as he is, he's never played anywhere even close to what he's going to be stepping into on Saturday night. You've got to hope that you can force him into some mistakes. Kind of like Tom was saying, and James both, kind of try to rattle him, make him be the one who beats you. Part of that is if you can find a way to force him into a big mistake, whether that's a strip sack from R. Mason Thomas or Billy Bowman picks off a pass, whatever, that would just be huge. And also get the crowd really, even more into it early. That belief, I think winning the turnover battle is just huge. If you told me before this game that Oklahoma will lose the turnover battle 2-1 or something, my thought they could win goes way down. They have got to find a way to win the turnover battle. That's huge for me on Saturday. So that's a big one.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that, Jackson Arnold, obviously hasn't gotten off to the prolific start that everybody would have liked as a starting quarterback, but he's been in some tough situations.
Yeah, right.
And, Brent Venables talked this week about, you learn in those valleys. That's how you become a better player, a better quarterback. Nico Iamaleava, in his 4 starts, he's attempted 4 passes in the fourth quarter of games. They've all been blowouts. He's not had to face any adversity. So I'm curious to see kind of how he responds to adversity if Oklahoma can go out there and, make him uncomfortable and see, what he's really made of.
All right, we lost James for a second there. We got him back just in time for players to watch for this game, Oklahoma-Tennessee on Saturday night. James, you're kicking us off for us. Go ahead.
Listen, this is low-hanging fruit, as we talked about, but it's Jackson Arnold this time. As I talked about, he has to be the dual threat quarterback that he's recruited as, like that type of guy. He needs to be able to take over this game. Now, I know Nick Anderson's back. He could obviously be a name as well, but Jackson Arnold's got to be the guy. He cannot have turnovers, as Josh said. He can't have one of those situations where he has an oopsie or whatever you want to call it. I mean, it can't happen. So it needs to be, his game. He needs to run the ball, control the game, and really take over. I think that's what we need. Something like that to get this going.
Yeah, a few options, obviously, for this one. I'm going to go with DJ Terry. Why not? Taking on his former team. Obviously came from Tennessee before last summer. This guy's been in big SEC games before. He had arguably his best game in OU uniform last weekend against Tulane. He was really good. We talked about that at the tail end of Monday's podcast. And, he talked about it. We talked to him on Monday after practice. He kind of mentioned he still knows guys over there. And obviously, he wants to play well. And we were just talking about it, James, the run game and what they've done on the ground. Tennessee so far this season, over 300 yards per game. Mm-hmm. That defensive interior helping slow that down is going to be huge in this game. The D tackles have been one of the best positions on the team so far. I think fair to say Grayson Halton's been awesome. Obviously Dominic Williams had his moments as well. So I want to go DeJoun Terry against his former team. That D tackle room is going to be huge in this game. And why not go with him against his former squad? He's going to be a big one for me.
Yeah, I want to cheat and say just like the front 6. That defensive line, linebackers.
Yeah, I mean, offensive line, yeah.
Because when we spoke to Brent Venables early in the week, like everything starts with Tennessee's offensive line, which he said is one of the best he's seen in a while from an SEC team, and he's got lots of experience going up against SEC teams from his time at Clemson. But I'll narrow it down to one person. I'll go with Danny Stutzman. We talked about Tennessee's run game and how good they've been. Danny Stutzman leads the nation in run stops right now, Corner Pro Football Focus, with 18. Like, if we've seen him come out and set the tone defensively for this team at least twice already this season. I mean, he's been everywhere early in games. If he can come out and do that again against Tennessee and, try to knock Tennessee off schedule, because that's what Oklahoma's going to need to do. They're going to need to keep Tennessee off schedule, keep them off balance. And if he can be that All-American linebacker, that Butkus caliber linebacker, it bodes well for Oklahoma.
I agree completely. Obviously, like James said, Nick Anderson's a big one too. If he does in fact play, it looks like he will. Just is he anywhere close to being Nick Anderson? Because if he is, wow, what a huge lift that would be. And one more bonus one that's not really, it's not really, it's not at all, not a player. The crowd, the fans. This is the biggest home game in a long time. The crowd has been under fire in the past week or so. I asked Danny Stutzman after practice Monday his expectations for the crowd this weekend. He took that as an opportunity to kind of say, the crowds haven't been that good. He was like, it started out great against Tulane, but the fourth quarter it was flat and empty, which it was.
Student section, man. Student section
was not good. It'll be. I don't think they really even needed it, frankly. OU fans, while it has gotten flat in some of these games that aren't big time opponents, usually in these types of spots, OU fans deliver, and it's a big game. They get up for it, but with the call out, with the Heupel return, with everything, like I said off the top, the biggest OU home game in close to 10 years. I think this is going to be as good of a OU home crowd as we've had. I mean, maybe ever. I mean, really, it's going to be incredible on Saturday. So I'm watching the fans, the home crowd. I'm looking forward to seeing what that looks like.
Yeah, I want to give out one more honorable mention, and it's going to be whoever is starting at center, whether that's Troy, whether that's a Branson Hickman, whether that's a Josh Bates. Communication needs to be on point against this Tennessee defense, which has been very good early in the season. So whoever it is that's snapping that ball on Saturday, they have to have that line in order.
I agree completely. It's going to be huge. And like I said, that's why having Everett is so big, because the margin for error when it was just Josh Bates, I mean, we've joked about it. Like, where do they even go if he were to go down? And if you have Everett back, that gives you a lot more cushion in that regard. All right, final score predictions. Let's lock it in, what we think is going to happen. I drew the unenviable task of going first here on score predictions. I don't know. I mean, I do think, this notion that it's just a humongous mismatch and it's going to be a blowout, which has been some of the sentiment I've seen nationally, I think is very misguided. Oklahoma, and Tom, you kind of referenced this earlier, has been building toward this game since the spring. I mean, they may not admit it. In fact, they definitely would never admit it, but they've been holding players back. They've been holding plays back, schemes, anything you could think of. They've been holding back these first 3 weeks just to get through them, to get to SEC play, into this game against Tennessee. That, the home crowd, like for all the reasons I just said, is going to be unbelievable. I'm just kind of getting a little bit of a vibe like the Texas game last year of, Oklahoma is backed into a corner. They're being severely doubted. This team is always very well aware of what people are saying about them. We've learned that over the last several years. And they're reading all week about how they're not going to have any shot at home or home underdogs the first time in forever. I just think Nico, first road start. I do think Oklahoma plays the best, whatever the best version of this Oklahoma team is, we're going to get it on Saturday. So I'm going to say the Sooners get it done. I think they win 27-24. I think it's just a great game. It's decided in the fourth quarter, and just Oklahoma's defense makes the one big play at the end to do it, to win it. So that's where I'm going to go. It should be a great game. I've gone back and forth all week, but it's kind of a gut feel. But I think Oklahoma's going to find a way to get one of the bigger wins in recent program history, I think, on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to pick this one. You look at Tennessee's track record under Josh Heupel, and in true road games, they're 6-7. That includes some key losses to ranked teams, to tough opponents, Georgia, Alabama. They lost at Florida last year. That's a rivalry game. Their biggest win was in 2022 at LSU. Like you said, first road start for Nico Iamaleava. It's a lot. I think this Oklahoma defense is very good, and it's going to do a good job of slowing down Tennessee's offense. I just haven't seen anything yet to convince me that Oklahoma's offense can keep pace right now.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a tighter game, similar to you. Very, very close score, but just kind of reverse results. And I'm probably going to get excoriated for this on the message board, especially if I'm wrong. But I have Tennessee 28, Oklahoma 24.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. Hey, I understand what both you guys are saying in the situation. Like after Tulane game, I felt a lot better about OU, but I also saw what Tennessee had just done to Kent State. So it was like, okay, that's serious. But as I said, I went back and watched the games and saw what happened. I think with all the people that OU is getting back and being at home, I think that swings a lot in OU's favor. And so that's why I got a close game, 31-28. I got a Tyler Keltner field goal winning it for Oklahoma in this one. I really do believe that OU can win this and play really good defense, stop the run game, fluster Nico, see what happens. I think with the guys back that are coming back, the offensive line that we talked about, bringing Nick Anderson back, helping that receiver group, it's going to make this offense look a lot different than it has in the first 3 weeks of the season. And we saw some new plays against Tulane now. Yeah. As Josh said, they're going to open up some more things, open up more of that playbook, and maybe we can see some more things out of the offense. So that's where I got it.
I agree. I mean, like you said, getting the guys back, Nick Anderson, I do think will make a huge difference. They haven't had another receiver do anything, frankly, outside of Deion Burks. So that's a huge.
He's got 22 catches. The rest of them have like 12 combined.
Yeah. We talked about it against Tulane. It was literally the two Zions who are freshmen. Both had one each. That was it.
And that's kind of why I'm convinced that with another guy back that Jackson Arnold's used to, that it can help out a lot. Because the guys that were supposed to be there, like the tight ends and Burks, he's perfectly fine throwing to them. It's just like they're right on the money, and so that's where I see it. But I also say it's a Josh Heupel offense because as the players talk about it and the coaching staff talks about it, it reminds me of what opposing teams were feeling going against OU's offenses, like a very good solid offensive line, great wide receivers, a great quarterback in a run game. It's like they play fast. Right. It's like one of those things. Like, man, this is what it was like on the other side this whole time. That's crazy how it's kind of like switched here. But
yeah. No, it's gonna be nuts. I mean, Josh Heupel's first game back, he joked about never been on the other sideline at Owen Field, and also everybody knows how it ended in 2014 with Josh. I would imagine the reception will be very positive for him. He won a national title here, probably should have won a Heisman too. But it's gonna be nuts. It's gonna be a crazy scene. A lot's been made of, Oklahoma hasn't played anyone even close to Tennessee's level, which is true. Tennessee hasn't played anyone close to OU's level either. Tennessee's schedule has also been quite soft. Now, they've throttled people. I'm not taking anything away from them.
They look like a playoff team.
They've looked as good as anyone.
Yeah.
But they're scared. I mean, I think between the 6 teams the 2 teams have played, I think Tulane's probably the best team of the common the opponent pool there, because NC State does not look good. We'll see. A lot of storylines. Any final thoughts on this game? It's going to be wild. I can't wait. It's going to be so fun on Saturdays to see what this looks like. All the eyes of college football are on Norman. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait. Any final thoughts? Any final words?
I mean, I kind of pretty much said it like when I was talking about Tennessee's offense is like that's pretty much what it was. Like
Let's do it.
Final thoughts there.
It's going to be fun. We're all going to be there. Saturday night, 6:30. ABC has the broadcast. Like Tom said, it's college game day. It's everything. All the hoopla is on this game.
I hope I get to meet Ben Herbstreit. That's my parting thought.
That'd be nice. He just tweeted a little bit ago that Ben has a credential. I saw it. So we're all set. And it's going to be nuts. I can't wait. It's fired up for this one. It's going to be fun. Saturday night, 6:30. We'll all be there, like I said, as always. Be sure to keep up Oklahoma at 247sports.com. Right now, you get a 50% off VIP subscription for a year, annual subscription. There's tons of coverage there, tons of recruiting coverage. It's a humongous visit weekend on the recruiting side. Colin and I detailed that on the Thursday pod. So lots of coverage coming from that. Obviously, the game, lead up, and full post-game reaction afterward on the site, as well as here on the YouTube channel. We'll have instant reaction from us, as well as Brent Venables, the coordinators, players, all that. All the fallout, whichever way this thing goes, we'll have it for you on the YouTube channel and on the site after the game Saturday night. That's it. We'll see you in Norman on Saturday night. For Tom Green, James E. Jackson, I'm Josh Callaway. We'll see you guys tomorrow night under the lights, Oklahoma, Tennessee, for Week 4.